Welcome to Blue Monday, an Ipswich Town podcast for the Rewind show, where we look forward to looking back at some of the last times we played this weekend's upcoming opponents. Hello, my name is Craig Finbar. Welcome to the Blue Monday Rewind show, where we look back at the last time we played this weekend's opponents in the top division and more matches from the not so distant past. Joining me as ever for your first instalment of your Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Blue Monday build up to the tricky trees of Nottingham is David Diamond. How are you going, Dave?
Good, Craig. Thanks. You? Good? All good?
Yeah, all good. Thank you. And just as a glimpse behind the curtain, we're recording this at 10:30 on Sunday morning. So neither of us have got much idea of what's going to be happening in a few hours' time, other than it being a bit of a windy old match. But yeah, well, you'd have spoken about it on the Flagship by the time people get round to listening to this.
Good point.
Game to be looking forward to, isn't it?
It is the game. We said before in the green room, again, behind the curtain, that it is still the biggest game of the season. It is. It's Man United. It really is. And with all the other bits and pieces going on, all the other narrative going on, it's Amarin's first game and stuff. It's just going to be crazy down there today, isn't it? So let's just hope we can take advantage of some of that craziness and get a result, hopefully.
Yeah, I also hope everyone's had an enjoyable day and enjoyable time by the time you get around to listening to this. It's a bit like that Simpsons episode where they're in the bar and they cover up their mouths to show what my favourite team is the Atlanta Falcons. So we could say, congratulations to Kieran McKenna on his team's victory.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great? Yeah,
and we'll get Rich can overdub
edit as appropriate.
Ruben Amarin. He can pop that in for us. We'll sound very prescient, won't we?
Super.
Exactly
Funny.
Right. As ever, everyone, if you are at these matches, please do comment, stick your thoughts of what happened in these games. Christ, one of them's not one you want to look back particularly fondly, but there you go. This seems to be a running trend at the moment with the with the games that we look at. But as ever, like, subscribe, thumbs up, etc., etc. So Nottingham Forest, Dave, they're a very similar club to ourselves, aren't they? And a very good, like we were talking about previously, Aston Villa, for example, just a good, solid football club.
Yeah, no, they really are. And really, I suppose you'd say in over the past few seasons, they have been in the Prem, obviously, much more frequently than we have. We've had a fairly similar trajectory when you sort of start looking back. Obviously, not when we're going to get onto any of those games today. I go back a lot further, and the great games we had with them back in the early 80s, late 70s under Clough, when they were, just incredible. And title winners, double European champions, and a proper when the European Cup was the European Cup. Just incredible, really. So I guess pretty much the first game, am I right, is going to be, you call it anyway.
Well, so I think even though we have had sort of entwined histories, as you say, that our dalliances with them in the Premier League are few and far between, aren't they? So I think we are heading back here to 1994 is the last time that we played them, 10th of December, 1994. And as ever, we need to know what's number one in the charts. But as ever so far, it's one we've spoken about previously.
I didn't look at this promise, but I would assume, looking back then, the games we've covered already, I'd have thought it's E17, is it?
It is E17, and as ever, as we have to whenever anybody speaks about E17, they have to mention that Brian Harvey reversed over himself in his own car.
That got some good, coverage. Someone comment on that in the comments, didn't they?
Yeah, I think
that's right.
You mention it, don't you? I think.
Oh, yeah.
But beware, everyone, because at number 5 in the charts was Mariah. Mariah had started her. I think this was the first appearance of Yeah.
the first appearance of Mariah. Wow, crikey.
Uh,
Yeah. Well, I mean, where are we? 24th. Yeah. Get another week on it, and I'm sure we'll be hearing plenty of that and
well,
E17, no doubt.
yeah, exactly. And neither Dave nor I will start. Oh no, it's not. It's Wham. Last Christmas is the game that you need to avoid, isn't it? Before you get Christmas Day, isn't it? So
That's the
neither.
one.
Anyway, either or, neither Dave or I are Ben, so we're not going to start singing Mariah Carey songs.
No, we won't. No, we won't. However, a good result later today. Who knows what might happen next this evening? Who knows?
Yeah, Dave. There you go. You breaking news after you've
I
already
might suddenly become Michael Ball.
Ball or
Anyway,
Buble. Yeah, quite.
or Buble.
Um, Form wise, let's look at the table, Dave. Form
Oish,
wise,
season.
yeah, what a season. We lost at home to Manchester City the previous weekend. There had been some ructions, sorry, in the crowd. John Lyle had subsequently resigned.
Yep.
This was a funny period of time, wasn't it, Dave? Whereby John Lyle had got us promoted, and then sort of he then wandered upstairs. Mick McGivern took over for a season, the previous season, 93-94, and then that hadn't gone spectacularly well. So John Lyle sort of then
Step back.
half took over again,
Yeah.
didn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, no win in our
Weird.
previous four. It hadn't carried on.
Weird times.
Well,
I think we'd lost 2-1 to not a bad result to Man City the week before, which prompted, on the back of some, again, obviously poor results, which prompted Lyle to sadly quit. And yeah, we had Paul Goddard as caretaker. And again, I think Mick Mills was again being heavily touted for the job again.
Yes. So Paul Goddard, and then Johnny Walk was his assistant,
Sort of
wasn't he? At this
right-hand
particular
man
time,
as such. Yeah.
In terms of the cover star, we're going Nottingham. Sorry, Nottingham Forest's cover star.
Mm-hmm.
He was a striker at the time, Dutch possibly. Yeah, I'm going to stick my nose out.
Well, I'm looking just half cheating and looking through the team. Brian Roy, would it be?
I think that's Brian Roy, isn't it?
It looks a bit tall for Brian Roy,
but I reckon it is.
I think it is.
I can tell you the guys on the floor, but it
looks like Lee Clark or Steve Watson.
Yeah, it's Lee Clark, I think.
Looks like Lee Clark. Yeah, I think it's probably Brian Roy, isn't it? Yeah.
And an early Christmas present for everyone. There's a poster of Steve Chettle inside the program there. So yeah, as you say, in terms of the managerial situation, Paul Goddard and John Walk had selected the lineup of 5-3.
Yeah, I wrote that down as 5. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean,
we were commenting about Klaus Thompson's utilityness on the last pod, and yeah, he sort of proves it again here, whereby
he's playing in the centre of the 3. Look at that. Yeah. No, good player, silky player. Again, you forget Paz up front, so he's obviously getting a little run of games, I assume. Up front alongside Kiwamia, obviously by that time, that season, or a couple of seasons before, Dezelle had obviously left by then. Yeah, it's just not a I hate to say it, it's just not a Premier League looking lineup, is it?
No, and it's not the most robust centre for attacking. Like there's not a Liam Delap in that front two,
no, it is Delapless, isn't it? When you're up against someone like Chettle and people like that who are hard and were gnarly bloody centre halves. Yeah, let's see what. Yeah.
Well, I think this is how we lined up it didn't work out particularly well, as it transpires, because we dragged David Lindigan got dragged at half time, as did the aforementioned Adrian Paz. But we'll get round to that in a sec. In terms of Forest, this is how they lined up, as you say, Steve Chettle, and a familiar looking name there in the back 4. Well, a couple of familiar
looking names. Obviously, Stuart Pearce gave great service to Forest. I think we've covered this one before. As a certain Erling Haaland's father there lurking in the back 4 there. I think that's Des Little at right back, isn't it? Steve Stone. We got Lars Bohinen. I always want to say Archie, but it's Scott Gemmeley's son, isn't it? Ian Wone. Yeah, Ryan Collymore. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Looking back at the highlights, spoiler alert: Collymore looked like he was in beast mode for this game, as he could be on his day. I know Ben hates this word, but on his day, Collymore was one of these players that was, say, unplayable, but he was, yeah, bloody handful. When he quick, strong,
Yeah.
just not quite. How can I put this delicately? Not quite the full ticket at times, but yeah, super player in full flight. Collymore, unstoppable. No, I won't say unplayable. Unstoppable in full flight, I'd say.
Yeah, and almost 2-footed as well, wasn't he? He's
Yeah,
just a good specimen as
really,
well. Good
really,
size.
really.
Good,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Again, and one
speed.
of these forwards, around about that time, unfortunately came up against some, from as far as England's concerned, obviously did play for England, but some other great forwards around about that time. But looking at Fowler and people like that, Cole, and some great players. Shearer, obviously.
Yeah. Um, but see, in terms of the game, we lost it 4-1, Dave, and we'd got to half time 4-1 down as well,
Yeah, well,
didn't we?
great second half. Those substitutions, obviously, it was on about Slater and Milts on the bench, I see. So Slater and Milts must have made hell of a difference.
Well, exactly. If you want to start solidifying things, you bring on Stuart Slater, don't you, to add a bit of steel
Yeah, I
to
mean, and
the
you wouldn't,
lineup.
Milt's great player, box to box. You wouldn't necessarily associate him with a sort of like a holding sort of role as well. Quite progressive, Milt's, wasn't he? But yeah, I mean, we'll go for the goals, but there's just one goal in particular. Is a bit of a well, no, not one goal. Is an incident after the goals. I mean, when you look at, I suppose, first goal, oh crikey, terrible defender from Linegan. There's a hoiked ball from Haaland. Terrible defender from Linegan. The aforementioned Collymore's 1-on-1, and obviously buries that from about, I don't know, 10, 12 yards. And the
Yeah.
second one, the second one's probably just as bad. The ball pinging around our box, I think, and again, Phil Whelan. We'll get on to Phil Whelan in a minute. A little bit later. He just doesn't deal with it, and it ends up with Scott Gemmell putting it in, and then Collymore spins Sedgley, just might as well not be there as he gets to the byline. Baheenan, I think it's Baheenan, it's Haaland, stabs it in
Haaland,
from
yeah.
about a couple of yards. And then
Yeah.
the standard Stuart Pearce free kick, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So we're 1-0 down after 4 minutes, 2-0 down after 10 or 11 minutes, 3-0 down after
We're
25
chasing.
minutes. And there's people just looking at each other in and around the 6-yard box as these goals are going in. It's just, we talked about it before, it's just a shambles of
It
a
is
season,
horrible.
unfortunately.
And even this Pearce free kick seems to go like beside the wall, doesn't it? Or sort of through it.
Yeah.
It's an odd one. I think, to be fair, Forest, it's a couple of Forest players that diving out of the way, but beats beats Craig Forrest in his sort of like near post. So you're 4-0 down. Then actually we score was, I think, it's quite a good goal, isn't it? It seems quite a good move. Ends up with, I think, Paz and Mason exchanging passes, and Paz, I think, pulls it back. Mason has a shot, charged down, and Klaus Thompson proper buries it, doesn't he, from about 8 yards.
And he was our lead. That was the year he was our leading scorer in the Premier League with
five.
5 goals, of which he scored 4 of them in a 6-game period that we're talking about here. So
I think you're right. I can remember him scoring against West Ham, sort of kind of over Christmas as well. Yeah. It was a horrible season, as we kind of said before. I mean, then obviously after Christmas it just gets well, other than a two-game blip against Leicester, which we've covered, and spoiler alert, which we will cover, Liverpool away, then it really takes a turn for the worse. As we said, it'd probably been far better for everyone at the club had we got relegated the season before and just saved the embarrassment of this season.
yeah, I think that free kick you were talking about, the Stuart Pearce free kick. Well, if you search for it, it's under Google, some fans put up saying Stuart Pearce, blockbuster. You think, well, I don't know. There wasn't the bravest wall in the world. I appreciate you got Stuart Pearce running, 15 yards towards you, just about to lather a ball at you, but it didn't stay too large for too long as the ball.
Do you know what? And getting on to the second match we're going to cover, maybe that was the kind of difference in attitude of the players between the match we've just covered and the second match, which we'll get on to.
Yeah,
which is quite funny, actually, when you're talking about a Stuart Pearce free kick, and even funnier when you see the aftermath of it. But anyway.
In terms of the talk about the aftermath of the match and the league table, it obviously wasn't looking much rosier for ourselves. But we didn't mention it beforehand, Dave. But Forest found themselves in 5th here, and they would actually finish in 3rd position.
Yeah,
this year.
incredible. Again, when you take in context what the game we're going to talk about talk about next. Really, yeah, great season. And it's just looking back at that. Sorry, just taking a look back at that Forest side. A lot of experience in there. Is obviously Pearce at the back, Crossley, Mark. I've got to say Mark Crossley, who I think is also going to make an appearance in a little while in the other game. If you haven't watched any of his YouTube stuff on Clough and his Clough impressions, they are absolutely spot on, brilliant. So I'd recommend that to anybody. But put Mark Crossley into YouTube, Brian Clough, and his impressions are absolutely spot on. And some of the stories are just brilliant. Yeah. So a lot of experience, and as we said, Steve Stone, Christ, he was going to go on to play for England at the Euros, was it, in '96, mate? Off the bench there. Colin Mulroy, yeah, good experience side, and yeah, what a great season.
And just as a note for everyone, the team that are currently in ninth in this table would end up being relegated. So
yes.
and that's after 18 games. You find yourself in ninth.
Wow,
and after,
look at that.
Yeah,
that's
42
a real
games.
That's incredible when you look at that, isn't it? Yeah, yeah, there really is. That dropped off a cliff there.
So let's just cheer ourselves up with that for a little
while
before we hear from our friends at Atwell's.
Blue Monday is proudly brought to you in partnership with our friends at Atwell Solicitors, your ideal legal partner for work on property or business law. Their client care has repeatedly been recognised as outstanding, and they are people-focused with a plain English approach which sets them apart. They have offices in Ipswich, Colchester and London, and to find out more, head to atwells.com.
Super stuff. Thank you, Mikey. And also our friends at All About Hearing, Suffolk-based hearing care professionals. If you have any personal hearing needs, allabouthearing.co.uk. Go and take a look, book an appointment, etc., etc. So thanks to them. Thanks to One Stop Badges. As it says on the tin, you need a badge, go to One Stop Badges and they will, there you go. Perfect. Yeah, they will sort you right out. In terms of the next match, then, Dave, we're heading back to Halloween 1992, Saturday. Number one in the charts was a Motown group, who it was their only number one, but they'd also had did have a top five. I'll Make Love to You. Not if you get the answer right, Dave. That was the name of their.
Boys to Men.
Boys to Men. Yes, it was. What was their song though?
Oh, no idea. End of the Boys to Men.
Good song. Yeah, End of the Road. Yeah.
Oh.
If I was that way inclined, I would sing it. But thankfully for everybody.
Now Ben was on here. That certainly would have been a chorus. Ben would have been belting that out now.
Definitely. In terms of the table, let's pop this up. End of October table, looking a little bit rosier from an Ipswich Town perspective, as we've mentioned before. A lot of draws and only two losses in our first 13 matches, but not as many.
Not the most entertaining, it should be said, but we were just difficult to beat. Well, in the early part of this, first half of this season, and perhaps in the first few games of the second half of the season, we were just difficult to beat, weren't we? We really were.
Yeah. It's just you can sort of tell from the split of wins, draws, and losses exactly what sort of team we were at this stage of the season. But a bit like ourselves this year, really. You know, we've drawn some games and we haven't been too far away in the margins.
Generally competitive. What an anomaly that them up the road. Look, in second place. What a crazy seat. I mean, that's odd, isn't it? Look at the goal. They must have taken a pasting somewhere. Was it the 7-1 Blackburn season? Do you remember they lost 7-1 at Blackburn? That must have been it. Do you think?
Oh,
I mean, look, they scored 20. They're in second with a -1 goal difference.
Yeah, as you say, something would have changed, has affected them somehow, hasn't it?
I'm sure they got a pasting at a hammering at Blackburn. But anyway, we're not here to talk about it.
No, we're not. We're here to talk about the cover star of the Nottingham Forest programme. And I think, I say my knowledge of Nottingham Forest players isn't great. May have been their right back who flirted around the England scene for a bit. I think
Brian Laws would it be? No.
Is that Gary Charles. Was
Wow.
that his era? I think it's Jon Jensen's perm tackling him, but
Well, that's hard. That's a hard one. Possibly. I mean, Gary Charles. Yeah, it would have been. He played in that was famously Gascoigne, the Gascoigne Challenge. So that would have been.
yeah, of course it was
91 Cup final. Was it
just
91?
after Italia 90. Yeah, it sounds about
Yeah,
right.
91 Cup final.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a hard spot. Yeah, I think perhaps you're right, but that's a
Gary
different. That's a
Charles.
truth. Someone will be shouting.
It's certainly Jon Jensen's curly hair.
That's
that I think
certainly Jon Jensen and that rather awful
tackling.
Arsenal away shirt, which is, not a favourite.
In terms of our lineups, again here, we went with the 5 at the back, according to the reports, and Paul Goddard had dropped to the bench for Steve Palmer, who came in to do a specific job on danger man Stuart Pearce, and apparently stuck to Stuart Pearce like glue during this game. He was that integral. Imagine having a left back who's so integral to your attacking play. Who'd have thought that?
Well, they were years ahead of their time. Yeah, nice. Dizelle and Kawami always had a great understanding, didn't they? Intelligent, as we all know, intelligent player. Dizelle was obviously going to move on fairly shortly, but again, that's I think we've sort of covered this before. Other than Geraint Williams, that was pretty much the promotion team. Maybe Craig Forrest in goal, but other than that was a promotion team, wasn't it?
Yeah, certainly was the squad. And just a quick look back at the table. Yeah. Forest were bottom of the league at this point in time. Not adrift, of course. Only 3 points off our old friends Everton, who are always there or thereabouts, up in 16th. But
perennials
currently, towards the bottom. Their team looked a bit like this. Not too many household names from our perspective. Well, maybe a few, to be fair. But Roy Keane was playing centre half for them. And wasted
Crossley
at centre half.
You'd think so. Crossley in goal. So really, the only the previous game we spoke about, the only survivors would be, I think, Crossley, Pearce, and Gemmell. 2 seasons away. So yeah, complete revamp. So have you got? I think it's Brian Laws. I'm trying to think of Tyler's first.
Carl
Tyler, good point. Gary Crosby, Scott Gemmell. Is it Toddy Orlickson? Is his name Toddy Orlickson? I want to say.
Yeah,
something like that, wasn't it?
Tall,
Toddy, I'm pretty sure. Kingsley Black. Nigel Clough. Yeah, he was class. I think it's Lee Glover up front with him. Yeah, Nigel Clough was, class player. And obviously with the great Brian Clough still was as manager there.
Yeah, and we hadn't won at probably related to the fact that Brian Clough was there. We hadn't won at Forest for 12 years. Previous.
Saw it. I was there. The previous time we'd won at Forest would have been in. So what was that? Yeah, it would have been 88. We won 1-2-1. Yeah, 80-81. Which is also the year of the Great Cup, 6th round cup tie, which I think I've said on numerous pods before was one of my favourite ever Town games, the 3-3 game.
And we took a nice early lead, a bit like Forest did in the game we just spoken about in the first 5-6 minutes. Took an early lead in this one as well.
Yeah. Looks like I think it stems from a deep cross, quite a good cross to the back post. I think from Gavin Johnson. I think
it's Stockwell's left foot.
Is it Stockwell? Is it? Wow, it's a good cross that actually. And looks again from the grainy sort of picture. Could well be Steve Palmer has broken the shackles of his shadowing of Stuart Pearce and nods it back and gets it back in the box. It's a good finish here, neat finish. Dizelle was always had an eye for a goal, didn't he? Sort of 6 yards out, got there first and nodded it past Crossley pretty much unchallenged.
Yeah, and it was his 5th goal of the season in what was the end of October. So he had a Delap-esque start to his Premier League career, hadn't he?
Yeah, good player in Premier League. Really, I thought for us it's kind of suited him, didn't it? He had perhaps a little bit more back then, a little bit more time on the ball, and yes, class player, Dizelle.
Bit of a free roll as well. We actually won midweek. Little tale. We'd won midweek at Portsmouth in the League Cup. It would have been, and also scored in the 5th or 6th minute. That's when Neil Thompson free kick. He just larruped it in.
Yeah, I think that probably does constitute a Thunder a Thunder B. That one, I think, doesn't it?
You were saying
about that one.
you were saying you went to the Forest game back in the early 80s. I was at the Portsmouth game, this one midweek, and actually missed the goal. Yeah, missed the goal.
Oh,
we
got
won
there late.
1-1 Got there late because a mate needed
A3 was crap. Yeah.
A friend needed the toilet on the A3, so we had to stop in a lay-by. I got there 10 minutes late, and as you know, hear the crowd as you're walking to the turnstiles, and thought, oh, this could be a good game, and it ends up 1-0, and you missed the one. Anyway.
Yeah, and you can almost, when you're walking there like that, you can normally tell an away goal as well, can't you? Because it's almost slightly muffled, isn't it? Slightly kind of muffled cheer. Well, usually, anyway. Yeah.
But luckily, I've forgotten about it in the subsequent 32 years, so that's all water under the...
Not that you hold it against your pal.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Glenn. you can see it on YouTube. You can see the goal on YouTube. And it's a bit like, it reminded me of that Johnny Methog. I appreciate it's probably about 20 yards further back, where he just literally just hits it.
It's still rising as it goes in.
Straight down the middle of the goal, doesn't it? Phil Parks
he had
that,
didn't he, Thompson? Again, that the way he's playing, massive bloody legs, didn't he? Jesus, had a hell of a left foot on him. But but there's a funny moment.
In the first half here, Dave,
There's a kind of a Benny Hill moment for those older listeners. There's a Benny Hill moment, isn't it? It's quite funny.
Well, it's a newly introduced law, hadn't it, come in that summer, I think.
Yeah. No, it certainly was. The back pass and the ball's kind of bobbing in and around our box. It's got a high ball and kind of, again, I think this is Stockwell, isn't it? Stockwell on the kind of the edge of our box, like sticks out a foot to clear it, gets it wrong, and the ball gently lobs back to Clive Baker, who quite rightly catches it. And controversially, the ref gives then the indirect free kick. And obviously, who have Forest got in their lineup? Stuart Pearce. And it's one of the comedy ones where you just don't see it now, do you? Where all the teams lined up are probably just on the edge of the 6-yard box, and Clive Baker's in front, isn't he?
Yes.
You just don't see that anymore. It's quality, isn't it? They know what's coming. It's a rampaging Stuart Pearce, like probably dragging his foot like a bloody bull's hoof, just ready to come and larrup it. And yeah, you would not have wanted to be in that wall. But however, fair play to one Philip Whelan, who cops it properly where you don't want to cop it, to be fair, as a gentleman. And even watching it back now makes me wince through grainy bloody VT. Oh, it's horrible, isn't it? But fair play to him, as we said earlier. He kind of stands his ground. He sort of stands his ground. He sort of keeps up for about 2 seconds, and then finally, I think the pain threshold kicks in, and he's down. He's on his knees. Oh.
Yeah, the match report does mention that he'd received treatment following the incident.
Pearce absolutely gives it everything. So it can't be no more than, well, it is. So if the ball's 6 yards, about 15 yards out, he absolutely cracks it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, crikey, and we somehow get away with that. Whether poor old Phil was ever the same again after that, I don't know. But anyway.
Well, exactly as you said, and I wrote it down myself, is that you've got when the goalkeeper's standing in front of every other outfield player, it's everyone can picture the scene exactly to what...
It was comedy, wasn't it? It was just a back pass. I mean, crikey, back pass. Mickey Stockwell, very good player that he was. What a great player. Not sure he quite had it in that in
just
his arm.
Cushion the ball back.
Zidane-like side foot cushion back. I don't quite think so, but a little bit harsh. But anyway, we got away with it, and obviously saw the game out.
Yeah, that's right. Again, we got away with our 1-0 victory, held out for the subsequent 85 minutes. I think it was a bit of a one-way traffic in the second half, and before mentioned Clive Baker got the man of the match in the East Anglian Daily Times with a 9 out of 10 performance. So yeah, exactly as you say. In terms of the table, obviously Forest remained at the bottom and wouldn't actually move from that position for the rest of the season. One team which would move from their current position would be Everton, who
of course.
I don't know why we bother mentioning it each week. They were third from bottom, but did not end third from bottom. Palace actually would end up getting relegated that season.
I mean, which goes to show that the first game we covered, just how well Forest obviously regrouped. I think it was Frank Clark. Frank Clark came in as manager, and obviously how well Forest regrouped over the preceding couple of seasons, because obviously the game we covered in '94, that season they went on to finish third. So incredible bounce back ability from Forest there.
Well, reason I knew there was a reason why I mentioned Palace. They got relegated with 49 points that season.
Yeah, that's a tough one to take. I mean, obviously, yeah, a few
Couple
more
more
games
games
than
yeah.
now, but even so, Christ, yeah, that's that's so. What would that be equivalent? Probably 39 now, would it? Something similar, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, that's that's not a statistic you want to particularly hear at this moment in time.
And,
But,
and we'd finished in 16th, hadn't we, that season? So we'd sort of dropped a little bit from our current.
We did after, I mean, you look back at the results after this season, the comments. I've looked back at this season, and we had a run of really poor results, and I think we carried it. Perhaps I know we got a couple of decent results right at the end of the season, well, notably against Forest on the last game. Spoiler alert! But I think we kind of seemingly carried that kind of negative, pragmatic football very much into the following season, I think.
Yeah. Well, as you say, we'll talk about the a more momentous Forest game.
Christ, yeah.
Later in the season, won't we?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for that, Dave. Thank you as ever. I'm going to let you go.
Thanks,
get your pre-match process all sorted and get down the Greyhound for a beer before the Manchester United
pre-match festivities. Wow, yeah, it's going to be good. Hopefully, it's going to be good.
Great. Well, thank you for watching or listening. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back, as I say. We'll be out on Tuesday. Mikey and Ben on Wednesday with their predictions, and then the guys with the pre-match on Thursday evening before the flagship for Nottingham Forest on Sunday night. This has been the Rewind Show on Blue Monday and Ipswich Town podcast. Thanks very much. We'll see you in a bit.